everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, Pete Wright, and everyone else.
How are you? I'm so good. I'm so
Yay.
good. I'm feeling strong. My kung fu is strong. It's too hot outside, and yet I'm still feeling very good about things.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm focused.
Focused.
I'm feeling focused.
That's always a good thing.
It's always a good thing. And so we're going to talk more about focus today.
It's a focus follow-up.
It's a focus follow-up. Yeah, it's an FFU.
Wow.
Before we get into the details of the FFU today, though, head over to TakeControlADHD.com and get to know us a bit better. You can listen to the show right there. You can subscribe for free in iTunes or your podcast application of choice. And find us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD. And please call us. Leave us a voicemail at 503-664-4ADD. Get your voice, your thoughts, your questions on this show. And this is a follow-up show. I don't think anybody actually called us. We got a lot of follow-up, but nobody actually willing to put their voice on the air. Is that right?
No.
That makes me sad.
Were all
that
written
makes
in.
me feel sad and weak.
Written in. Does that make sense? Is that right? Written in. They
yes.
wrote in.
Yes.
They wrote in. They written us. That's right. That's what they did.
That's right.
Which is all good too. We'll take that as well. But yes, definitely, if you want to call, you can certainly call.
That's right. We want to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
It's always fun.
So we're talking about follow-up. I have one I think it's a non-follow-up related bit of follow-up. Non-focus, non-FFU related follow-up. And this is from Jordan Gamble. This was a friend of the show, Jordan Gamble. We've talked about Jordan's comments before. And he actually recommends an app. So this is sort of a follow-up to the picture that I took and posted on the site of the joke that my daughter did to my wife for her clock.
Yes.
So this is referring to this clock, our kitchen clock, and my daughter put these pie slices of, that point to various times around the corner of the clock for when my wife needs to be making her breakfast, making her coffee, getting out the door when she's late, etc. So that's on the site at TakeControlADHD.com. And so Jordan then came back. He said, I think this is your idea to put pie slices on a clock is similar to this, and I thought I would share. Timer for kids, visual task countdown for preschool children, family, and friends. Help in chore, daily activities, and morning routines by idea number 4E. Idea for E. And so we'll put a link to the show or to the app in the website, but it's a really cool, very similar kind of concept, but on a digital thing. So if your kids have iPod Touches or old iPhones, you can actually download this little app and it gives you that same sense of visual time around activities. And I think it's a really cool concept. So thank you, Jordan, for writing that in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and actually I can tie this in to the next person that I want to talk about, because one of his favorite ideas from the show is getting that big clock and coloring in the time periods, what you were just talking about.
Oh, that's so fun.
This was that was a hit, Pete, right? People really like that idea.
It
nice
really,
job.
I'm so glad to hear it. I'm glad it sticks. It really, it is really fun.
That's great. That's good. Well, I have a follow-up from the online shopping show that we did, and this comes from Chase, and he emailed me and actually gave me a lot of different ideas and different things that he's done to kind of keep him focused. And I'm only going to share a couple on the show because I also have another person that I want to address too. But I picked two of my favorite ideas that he had about staying focused and just some things that might help some people out that we kind of mentioned, but not really. So some new ideas.
Excellent.
What do you think? You ready?
I am ready.
All right, great. Well, the first one that he talked about was turning off online notifications, unsubscribe from spam. Now, I see those as two kind of different things, and you can tell me, Pete, if I'm wrong or not. The online notifications, I'm kind of thinking keeps you focused just to stay on the site that you're on versus everything else that could be going on in your computer. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, and you know what? In most new browsers, there is a new extension that web developers can make use of. When you go to a site, when you visit a site, sometimes you get a little pop-up that says, this site would like to send you notifications, right? Always say no to that. If you're listening to this show, you are not a candidate for those notifications. Let me just tell you, say no. There is no reason to have
notifications.
yet another inbox be your browser. That is insanity. If you use Gmail in the web, you can manually go in and turn on notifications for that website. But don't let like the Vogue and Vanity and Washington Post and Amazon, they all want to send notifications to your browser. Do not let them do it. There you go.
That would be distracting for sure. Well, and when he says unsubscribe from spam, I also take that as the subscriptions to your favorite stores. Like, they'll put you automatically on their email address, or if you order anything from one of your favorite stores because they have your email, you automatically get subscribed to their email address. And I noticed that there was a few different stores that I like and I shop at, but I don't want emails from them every single day. And so there's a couple things that you can do. One is if you unsubscribe altogether and just don't get them, because then you're not tempted, right? You're not going to see the upcoming sale. You're only going to buy when you need to buy. So that would be, one option. But the other option is, if you don't want to go all in and go away from it completely, is you go into your preferences, and many of them will say, do you want just once a week or monthly email, and you can choose that. And that for me, that worked because I could still see what was going on, but not be getting these emails every single day that I was deleting anyway.
You're talking about preferences, not on your computer, but preferences on the company's website for you, for their mailing behavior for you. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that was something that we didn't bring up before, but I thought it was a really good point that, if you shop online a lot, to really kind of consider these emails, like, are they useful for you, or are they getting you in more trouble?
Yeah. And I think about that, like for your behavior, what are the like store or like shopping experience emails that you keep? Are there any that you actually get and intentionally keep access in your inbox?
Well, there are. Kings Lane is like a home shopping type of online company, whatever, and it's only online, right? So it's not like something you can get at the mall. So I do keep theirs once a week. Wayfair is another one that I keep once a week.
What is it about those that cause you to say, yes, I want to keep those?
Honestly, because they are really, truly just online stores. They're not stores that I can just go to the mall. So like, I used to be a big shopper at Ann Taylor, love Ann Taylor, still love Ann Taylor, but I could go to Ann Taylor in the shopping, in the shopping mall where I don't need to have emails from them all the time. So I eliminated them, but I kept the ones that were online. But I only have them come once a week because they will come daily, and it's annoying.
Yeah, it's tricky. For me, I get certain, like Amazon is one that I actually really love, because Amazon lets you really fine tune the control of what content you get in email from them. And we're Prime members. We do much of our home shopping on Amazon. And so I like to be notified of certain deals, etc. But that is about it. And you have to think about it in terms of your value to this retail establishment, right? By signing up to one of these mailing lists, you become a little nugget of gold, right? These email lists for these companies are their gold lists. They love to grow these lists. And the bigger they grow these lists, the greater the incentive they have to use these lists, because people who receive emails generally are their most active purchasers. And so it's you become a tool when you give them permission to email you. And so you got to be really conscientious about, what am I giving up? What am I doing when I become a little nugget of gold, a little ducat in their bag of email? Like, I really think of it that way. Who am I giving my allegiance to by giving them access to my attention? And so that, anyway, that very helpful. Very helpful.
Well, and I think that's probably, going back to your original question, the reason why I keep the ones that are home products, like the home stores, is because there is an interest level for me to look at those, right? I mean, okay, well, they have an organizing section, today, or they have like this kitchen section today, or, with the summer, they'll have an outdoor section, and it's like, I want to see what's there. And so there is an interest level. So, I think that has a lot to do with it. Where the other like stores that are like clothes and things like that, I tend to just ignore, because it's like, I don't care. They always have discounts. I mean, it's, very rarely do they not have a discount going on.
Right.
So anyway, good stuff.
Yes, very good tip.
So I thought that was a good, good thing to remember. And then the second thing that really caught my interest in his email was his tip of don't tell yourself you can return it later. This is a killer. Amen. And, it's interesting because we talk about, or in the original show, if I remember correctly, I do use this as a way to make a decision. If you know what the return policy is, that may help you make a decision. But I think he brings up a really good point that the likelihood of anyone actually returning anything is so slim. And I'll just read to you what he says. You will buy more if you think that it will be easy to return, but you probably won't return it. It is never easy to return anything because you have to go online, figure it out, box it up, package it, etc. There are just too many opportunities to get sidetracked along the way in the return process. Only buy things you want and need. If unsure, don't buy. Returning things takes energy. It's one of those tasks that never makes the priority list, and so you often end up keeping things you never wanted in the first place because the 30-day return period expires. And it's so true. I mean, He is definitely telling the truth here. I think that's something to keep in mind.
I think it is really dangerous for people who use the return policy as a shopping tool. Right. Versus using the return policy for what it's intended for, right? If I go out and I buy something and my intention is to use it and it functionally doesn't work, then I'm more inclined to use the return policy, right? I would buy it or buy a replacement of that object that actually does work for me. But boy, if you treat it as a tool for, gosh, I just want to see, I don't really need it, but I just kind of want to see if it works. Maybe I'll grow into it or I'll like it down the road. That's really the wrong reason. He's absolutely right. That's a great
And that's a great distinction there too, Pete. I mean, I think just to add on to that for sure, that difference of using it for what it's really there for, because then it's probably worth the energy at that point, like you said, then I will return it. I will get a different one.
Because think of it like the litmus test becomes, if I buy this thing and it doesn't work, am I then likely to go out and buy a different one that does work?
Right.
If I'm not likely to do that, then I'm using the return policy as a way to to rationalize my shopping habits.
Absolutely.
But if I'm just as likely to go shopping again to find the thing that does work, then I also am likely to put the energy into returning the thing that I just bought.
It's something you really need.
Yeah, it's something you really need. You want to make that right.
Absolutely. So anyway, great additions. Thank you, Chase, so much for writing in and giving us your thoughts. I thought that was really great. So that is that for the online shopping. And then let's see, a couple weeks ago, I received a question from a listener. Her name is Kim, and this is what she had to say. She said, "Love the show, long-time listener." I love that.
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Long time. Yeah. Thank you. And her question is, I'm great at hyperfocus, but as I have projects or areas of focus, all routines and systems tend to fall apart. For example, I'm working on menu planning, but housework suffered. Or if I focus on decluttering, my food planning and daily routines fall apart. I work from home, so if I hyperfocus on cleaning, work suffers, and vice versa. What are tips for balancing when you hyperfocus? Many thanks. So before because I have a couple of tips and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, Pete, but I just first want to acknowledge her, that she sees what's going on. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Awareness is always that first step of change. So if you see a behavior that you're doing or something that's happening that you don't like, being aware of it, acknowledging it, that's your first step. So kudos to you, Kim, for seeing that this is happening.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Pete, what do you think?
Hold on a second. The one word that comes for me, the one saving grace for me is alarms. Alarms from different devices. Don't count on one alarm. Alarms from computers, alarms from phones. Set alarms and alarms for those alarms. That helps me out of the hyper focus darkness, because you're absolutely right, Kim. Oh my goodness, do I ever resonate with this. If I get into one thing, I can be working on it like Superman, but the rest of my life falls apart and suddenly I'm not wearing pants. Like it just falls apart. And so I think it's really important also to have different alarms. You know, you want to have alarms that really alert you in a way that is different than the one, like, for example, you wake up to in the morning. This is like I was looking for the one. It's not going to play on my computer because it's on my phone, but it's the like nuclear radiation leak alarm. Like I use that a lot during the day because it's something that really helps me out. So for me, it is just about if I know there's a risk of hyperfocusing, I have to take stock and say, how long do I really want to allow myself to do this next job, whatever this next thing is. If it's meal planning, before I start, I have to have that muscle that says, I'm only going to give this 20 minutes. And I'm going to set alarms that alert me, because I will lose track of time at the end of that 20 minutes. So that's my first one, but I don't want to monopolize. So what are yours?
Well, I think that's awesome, because I asked my husband this question before we started the show. I wanted to get his input because he has a little bit of a problem with this as well. And so I wanted to know.
That's funny. You married into the ADHD. That's awesome.
Yes. So I wanted to know, like, what would he do in the situation? And he said the exact same thing. He's like, I have my alarm.
Yeah, you have to have alarm. External stimulus. If I had a robot hand that I could wear in a sling on my back, that all it did was at every 15 minutes it just poked me. Like I would make use of that. That is a tool that somebody invent that for us. Like that would be so helpful. So.
Well, and I thought it was really funny because he said, well, I have an alarm to pick up the kids, and I never forgot the kids.
Yep.
At all this year. And now that it's the summertime.
I love how he qualifies this year.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, exactly. We won't go into that. But yes, he has not forgotten the kids, and he was very proud of that. And he was proud for the fact that it's summertime, and he still has the alarm go off at 2:20 to remind him to go get the kids, even though there are no kids to get because they're here at home. But then it was funny because he's like, but I'm going to have to have a different alarm to remind me when the kids are really back at school. Like I'm going to have to have a different alarm to have this alarm go off.
That's right.
So anyway, he was saying the same thing.
I think that's an important one. You have to change it. You have to change that sensory experience, or you will acclimate to it. And that's really dangerous. So, the challenge is not for me, it's not the act of having alarms. And I toss that out as a recommendation, but the more difficult thing is to really get yourself to set them. Right?
Oh, to set them.
To get really good at setting them, because, and I'm sure Kim would resonate with this. When you find you are in some sort of a hyper-focused state, it's usually at the end of it. Mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. You feel like, oh my God, I just totally lost track of time. I just blacked out for 2 hours, and here I am now, and I've been hyper-focusing on menu planning, and I haven't done anything. And I was so focused, I slipped so easily into the hyper-focus mentality that I never even thought about setting my alarm.
Right. Yeah. So just getting it set in the first. Well, and that actually, I think where I would add is setting the intention. And you mentioned this. Yeah. You said, okay, if I'm going to spend 20 minutes on meal planning, and then I need to have an alarm. So what you're saying is I need to make sure that you are setting the alarm. Your intention is to spend 20 minutes on it, and then have another alarm to tell you when it's over. And that would be my key tip, is that, she uses the word balance. And I think that's a really important word to consider when you're talking about balance. You're wanting balance. You don't want to just hyper focus on one thing. Yeah. So what is your intention for your time? You want to spend 30 minutes on this? Do you want to spend 45 minutes? And then, like you said, setting the alarm before and after. And so I think that intention is huge. Now, it does take a little bit of planning and effort. And so again, going back to awareness, if this behavior is something you want to change, then just putting a little bit of planning into it and setting more of an intention, then you're going to see more of a balance, which is exactly what she's, I think, hoping to get.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And make no mistake about it, it's really hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is really hard to do. It's a muscle like anything else that you have to get better at, and you have to figure out whatever system works for you to do it. But I for me, external stimulus, whether it's alarms throughout the house, whatever it is, having something that alerts you to change modes is huge.
Well, and you can use people too. I mean, if you've got your partner or spouse or somebody at home, let them know what's going on. Okay, I'm spending a half hour on, shopping online. And then I think this was one of our tips in that show. I need you to come in at 12:30 and tell me to stop, or at least say something to me. So you can use alarms, but you can also use people. Yes. Which can be really useful too.
Yeah. I think that's why. I mean, I feel like that's the important part, right? It's that external part. That if you have a tendency to hyperfocus, you also have a distinct inability to meter your own time and energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Very good. Well, I would be curious to know if other people have other suggestions or ideas and things that work for them too. So this would be a great opportunity to write back in or leave us a message.
Absolutely.
Focus and ADHD, it's not just, a 2-show thing. we could talk about it for hours.
I thought we were done.
I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever be done, Pete, right?
Here's hoping. And very, very special thanks to listener Kim and Chase and Jordan.
Yes,
you guys are awesome. Thanks so much. And I think that's all we've got this week. So
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So thanks, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your summer already. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next week, on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. And we'll catch you then on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.